Thank you, Ambassador. Let me say good morning and to greet all of you. I'd like to recognize Your Lordship, the Most Reverend Gabriel Malze, Bishop of Roseau, my cabinet colleagues, Honorable Lennox Linton, the leader of the opposition, Dr. Didicus Jones, the Director General of the OECS Commission, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Honorable members of Parliament, Your Excellency Steve Farrell, Secretary to the Cabinet, Your Excellency Edward Lambert, Ambassador and Principal Advisor to the Prime Minister, Your Worship, the Mayor, Mrs. Irene John, Mrs. Rosamond Edwards, the Financial Secretary, Permanent Secretaries, Father Charles Martin, presenters, observers, delegates, other invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, and our residents, both listening and viewing the live coverage of this very important national consultation. Ladies and gentlemen, when I looked around our beautiful country on September 19 last year, and I viewed the utter destruction and devastation that had befallen every nook and cranny, I vowed to do all in my power to ensure that never again would Dominica's back be completely broken by the forces of nature. Climate change is not a figment of our imagination. Climate change is real. We are living that reality in the Caribbean. Adapting to that new reality is not an and, if, or maybe. It is a necessity. It is a must. After Tropical Storm Erica 2 years ago, I informed the nation that we would respond by building back better. If we look around us at the interventions that we made after Erica, these, by and large, stood up to the wrath of Maria. We can look to the Roseau West Bridge, the York Valley Bridge, and the homes being built for resettlement at Bellevue-Chopin. All survived the wrath of Hurricane Maria. And also, the design of the Roseau Enhancement Project, where in these designs, all of the cables, the electrical lines and telecommunication lines would have been placed in underground ducts. But these are just a few examples. My dear friends, we must appreciate, however, that not many structures can withstand the might of a Category 5 hurricane untouched. If we want to question this, ask the residents of Houston, who saw vast destruction by a mere Category 3 bordering on a Category 4. And we can also ask the island of Puerto Rico how they fared after the Category 5 hurricane. Maria has placed even sharper focus not only on the need to build back better, but also the need to build resilience in all our sectors of our country, in tourism, agriculture, housing, our utilities, and public infrastructure. So when I speak of making Dominica the first climate-resilient nation in the world, these are the areas that we seek to target. Building a climate-resilient nation is not a task that this government can do on its own, given our limitations of resources and expertise. More than that, each of us need to build resilience in our homes and our businesses, and therefore this requires a collaborative approach. Your acceptance of our invitation to come here today is a manifestation of your interest and desire to be part of a vision to build a climate-resilient nation. It is an indication of your willingness to impart your knowledge, experience, and skill in rebuilding a new Dominica. There is no set formula. There is no one-size-fits-all approach or blueprint. I have traveled the world since September and sat in many international fora, and I have not come across any individual who can be considered an expert in the build-out of a climate-resilient nation. The world has bought in, however, to the concept of creating a climate-resilient nation and is looking to Dominica to make this a reality. In the Caribbean, we are particularly vulnerable as small island and low-lying states to the ill effects of climate change. CARICOM has taken on board this concept and has resolved to make the Caribbean the first climate-resilient region of the world. The Secretary General of the United Nations, the President of the World Bank, key officials of the European Union, every head of state I have spoken to, our key development partners, and every climate change enthusiast I know are keen to play a part in realizing that new vision for Dominica. The world is rooting for us, ladies and gentlemen. But we, as residents of this fair land, must play our part. It is often said that timing is everything. I posed it this morning, that timing is critical to the pursuit and attainment of our goal to become a climate-resilient nation. Attempting this endeavor before Hurricane Maria would have been fraught with many challenges, and the prognosis for success would have been minimal. Dominica cannot operate in a vacuum. Prior to September 2017, Dominica was not on the radar of many international agencies and high-powered individuals. We have spoken of the noble ideals of this concept before, but it did not resonate globally because climate change, until last year, was still abstract and utopian for many. It took 2 Category 5 hurricanes in the space of 2 weeks and several other vicious weather systems, all in a single year, to highlight and bring home to the global community the fact that climate change is real and can no longer be ignored. Yes, Dominica has been in the vanguard of climate resilience for quite a few years, but it is only now that the world is listening and that the world is coming on board. We have, as a nation, to embrace and capitalize on this. The odds of succeeding earlier were small. The probability of success now has been considerably enhanced, unfortunately, as a consequence of our misfortune. 5 years ago, Dominica articulated a low-carbon, climate-resilient development strategy. We had the vision. However, resources were but few. In an environment where we are seeking to bring to fruition our goal of universal health care for all, affordable education from cradle to grave, and a dignified existence for our poor, elderly, and most vulnerable, some things had to give. Many forget that notwithstanding our laudable goals, the revenue base of our country is but small. Yet still, we have been able to develop and modernize our infrastructure. We have slowly and progressively been diversifying our economy and building out our hotel and tourism plant. Prior to Hurricane Maria, we were measured in our pursuit of climate resilient status. We knew where we wanted to go, but we did not have the vital global buy-in and hence the resources to get there. Also, over the past decade, we would have been thinking resilience in terms of our experiences. None of us would have imagined prior to September of 2017 two Category 5 hurricanes impacting the region in quick succession. Today, we can all benefit from a vision of hindsight. And I think we are in a better position now to not only articulate our vision to the world, but also to exploit fully the expertise and resources that have been placed at our disposal to make this all happen. When we spoke over the past 3 to 4 years, many nodded in approval, but little meaningful assistance was forthcoming. Since Hurricane Maria, I think it is fair to say we have captured the attention and imagination of the global community. And just to say to us that after there was an agreement in Paris 2 years ago, there were many pledges made by the developed world to us. None of these funds are currently available to any country in the world because they have not been deposited. As a matter of fact, the mechanism to access those funds have not been worked out by the developed world. So while there are pledges made, access by countries like ours is impossible because they're really not available. Since the re-articulation of our renewed vision 4 months ago, we have had meaningful pledges of assistance. We have welcomed to our shores former President Bill Clinton, His Royal Highness Prince Charles, the distinguished Secretaries General of the United Nations and the Commonwealth, the Vice President of the World Bank, and the list goes on. The world is now watching, and the world is now listening. Now is therefore the time to catapult our country forward and build the new Dominica. Mine is the job of laying the cornerstone of this new venture. Our generation will be responsible for setting the foundation. Our children will work on the side walls, and generations to come will affix the roofing structures. Building the new Dominica will not be an overnight job. That's because we are living in a very dynamic environment in which conditions are changing and tweaking. Adaptation and reinforcement will always be needed. Nevertheless, the cornerstone is essential. And this morning, I would like for us to zoom in on the type of cornerstone we would like to lay. My thinking is that the first twin prerequisite is that of service enhancement and containment of discomfort. We have to get Dominica working again. And Dominica must work differently and more efficiently if we are to succeed. We have got to pay attention to service delivery at all levels. The public service is a major cog in this wheel, but so too are each and every one of us that are relied upon to dispense products and services. We have got to be efficient, we have got to be courteous, and we have got to be consistent. Today, I would like for us to consider how individually and collectively we can work on improving the delivery of services in Dominica. Secondly, for us to move forward as a nation, we have to address and resolve the discomfort of each other, wrought in part by the passage of Hurricane Maria, but which also has constituted our Dominica experience and reality for way too long. We are all leaders in this room. Don't fool yourself, we're all leaders in this room. If you look around you, you will see at least 90 of the 100 most influential persons in Dominica, myself excluded. The remainder of the population, and indeed the entire Dominica diaspora, is looking to us here assembled for guidance and inspiration of how we dig from the rubble and start to get our lives back on track. We have, therefore, as leaders, to set ourselves the challenge and adopt a mindset of problem solving. We mustn't only speak about the problems, we must speak about solving the problems. That's what leaders do. In simple, seemingly cliche terminology, we have to begin fixing what's broken and righting what's wrong about Dominica today. We have deliberately invited all stakeholders because while we are not apportioning blame, we need nonetheless to acknowledge responsibility and the source of authority in our quest to get things done. Let's start with the basics. Access to clean running water. Is it acceptable that 5 months after the passage of Hurricane Maria, potable water has not been restored to all communities, homes, and businesses? Of course it is not. You are upset about this, and I am upset about this, and the country in general has a right to be upset about this. The same goes for the lack of electricity, delayed clearance of items from the port, adequate supply of readily available fresh food, particularly fruits and vegetables, the shortage of cement and other building materials, the buildup of debris and garbage, and its impact on our environment. All of these are issues we are concerned about, and their resolutions constitute the first critical cornerstone to building a new Dominica. So this is where we start, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we commence the task of building a climate-resilient Dominica by minimizing discomfort, enhancing supply, and improving service. We've invited key stakeholders and service providers to avail themselves for possible questioning. Indeed, we've invited a few to be proactive and to give us updates on progress made. We're not putting anyone on the spot this morning. We're here to work together to emerge a stronger and better nation out of the mess that Hurricane Maria brought upon us. Therefore, we need to formulate, by way of our discussions, plans for consolidating and accelerating the rate of recovery and the build-out process. I invite each and every one of you, therefore, to be open, but yet constructive and respectful in your criticisms and concern, and to be clear and concise in making your recommendations on the way forward. I have already said that there are grounds for dissatisfaction. Conditions in many spheres of social and economic activity could be better than where and what they are. But let us not dwell on those. We have a duty to improve situations, and that is why we are here assembled. I therefore look forward to a robust and productive session so that we leave here this afternoon with a greater appreciation of the challenges that we confront, a reasonable idea of the nature and time frame of resolution, and a broad outline and the broad outlines of a plan of action for making things happen. The government, of course, has its own ideas on measures that need to be taken and things that need to be put in place in building the new Dominica. This includes, for example, the establishment of the Climate Resilient Execution Agency of Dominica to harness the best possible expertise and improve on our rate of implementation. However, we need everyone to be part of this process. We need all ideas to contend. We need your input and your contributions to develop a collective plan for making our country a resilient one. Let us engage our minds and creative talents in the service of our beloved country, so that those who look to us can be inspired to feel that true, meaningful help is on its way. May God bless our country. I thank you very much.